Hey, what up, everybody? steviebreech coming to you. This video, I'm gonna be plugging my podcast that I'm doing with my buddy Freaking Yay 88. Um, I know it's weird to do a shout out for Freaking Yay 88, but because he's the guy that made me start making videos, and he's one of my best friends in the entire world. But I've gone to places like Access, and I've met people that have came with me and said that they watch my videos, and I've been standing next to the guy, and I've been like, "Oh, here's yeah," and then they just look at me like I don't know who this guy is, which is just way wacko bizarro land to me, because if it wasn't for and guys like Gemini, I wouldn't even be making videos today. But um, we're doing this podcast thing. We've done the last few pay-per-views. We did a big one last night that's going to be uploaded today, talking about WWE in 2002, which is a great year in wrestling. And it was just a weird year in my life, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. It all started off with the Royal Rumble. I was working at Pizza Hut with my buddy Christian, and we bought tickets for the Royal Rumble because it was coming to Atlanta, where I was living at the time. We bought them like probably 4 months beforehand. He had the tickets in his possession. I just started gave him the money. He went out and he bought them, and he moved. He moved to South Carolina, which I was just like, well, I'm not going to buy another ticket, so I guess I'm not really going. But also at this time, I was living on my own. Well, I had a roommate, but I was living on my own, and it was just hard to watch wrestling at the time. DVRs weren't around. Basically, the only thing you had was a VCR and a VHS tape. And if you ran out for work that day, or if you were just doing one thing or another and you forgot to hit the program to record for Monday Night Raw, or you forgot to rewind the tape when it was in there, there was a whole bunch of things that just could screw up watching any wrestling if you were just didn't weren't on top of your game, didn't know what you're doing. But it just I wasn't able to watch every show. I was getting most of them, but certain things just would happen, and and it just wasn't getting it. So when the Royal Rumble finally came around, I really wasn't gung ho on going as much as you thought I would be. But just one night out of the middle of nowhere, I'm saying like in the middle of the night, like 2 in the morning, I'm laying in the bed with my girlfriend, and Christian's this big, close to 7 foot tall dude. He just appears in my bedroom. I don't know if he broke into my apartment. I don't know if my roommate let him in. He just shows up, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And he's like, Royal Rumble tomorrow, we're going. And I'm just like, okay, gung ho, here we go. So I sort of went into going to the Royal Rumble, not really knowing that I was going. And like I was saying, I was sort of losing touch with wrestling a little bit. And so I honestly didn't even know who the hell Billy and Chuck were when I was there. But it was a fun night, and it was always going to a show, always get you gung ho on wrestling a little bit more, got me a little bit more into the product, and I just really didn't miss anything after Royal Rumble. Then a decision came into my life where I decided I was going to move from Atlanta. I was going to move back to California, so I threw everything in the U-Haul, drove cross country, unloaded it. First day that I was in Sacramento, my dad asked me what I wanted to do, and it was weird because when I was a kid and I lived with him, I would watch wrestling and he would be there, but he would never really watch it with me. But I was like, WrestleMania is tonight, and I really want to watch it. It was Hogan versus Rock, and that was a big deal. So he told me we would go somewhere to watch it. We ended up going to my grandma's house, and to my surprise, it was like a family secret, I guess you can say. We had a black box at my grandma's house that she didn't know about. It was on her normal TV down in the living room. This was before digital cable boxes. This was just the analog box. It was a whole lot easier to do. Basically, you just undid your box and you put some sort of chip in there, and that's how it worked. They got rid of that. You really can't do that anymore. I don't even know how you really get illegal cable anymore, but that was how they did it back in the day. But we watched it, and it was cool, hanging out with your dad and everything like that. And I hadn't even seen my dad in a while, and that was the first thing we did. That was crazy. I probably hadn't seen my dad in about a year and a half. The first thing we did was watch WrestleMania, and that was a really gung ho show. But then the thing popped up that we didn't have cable at my dad's house, and I didn't have a job, so I couldn't really spring for the bill. So I had to live with him for a while. Things that happened when I was not watching wrestling because we didn't have cable was like the draft, Hogan winning the title, And the Hogan thing was just bizarre. I just hated it so much. I wasn't watching it at the time, but I knew that it was bad. Just how you can bring this old guy back. I knew that if you brought him back and you gave him some wins over some of the young guys, that's fine. Just normal matches. But you don't make this guy out to be the best in the world still by letting him beat Triple H, who had been one of the biggest wrestlers of the last couple of years. And it was just dumb. I was glad that his run was only a month because I was at the point where I wanted to throw my TV out the window, and I didn't even watch the show on my TV. But the draft happened, and I followed that on WWE.com because that was a real big deal. And I finally was able to move out around July. I got a place with my girlfriend at the time, and we got cable. I got to see SummerSlam, and SummerSlam was one of the best shows of all time. We covered this really big in the podcast. It was Shawn Michaels' return, this, that, and the other. And that is what really got me going into wrestling. That was a real big show. Brock vs. Rock was, as close to mainstream as you can get at the time. I remember that's honestly one of the last times I heard people talking about wrestling in my workplace before I brought up The Rock came back, and that brought a whole bunch of people back into the fold. But 2002 was a fun and crazy year. 2002, I believe, was also when Tough Enough came back. It was weird having the brand split, but like I said, these are all topics that we talk about in the Freaking 88 podcast. Hopefully, you guys can go over there and check that out. We're looking to find a way to get it on its home so you can get it on your iPod or your phones, this, that, and the other. But for the meantime, the home is on YouTube. These are like pilot episodes. Us trying to figure it out. The way it is yeah, sort of like the JR of the team, and I'm the Jerry Lawler. He steers the ship, telling the play by play, and I just give my two thoughts on it at the end. But it's fun. Give it a whirl. Thank you very much.